Kelly.
And I'm Danny. Welcome back to the ProCreatives podcast for moms who make things.
The podcast for moms and future moms who are navigating their creative careers as they raise their little inspirations.
Yes, and today's episode, we're speaking with mom of two, creative and vice president of diverse insights and partnerships at Nielsen, Charlene Polite-Corley. Welcome, Charlene.
Hi, ladies. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Yes.
Before we get into it, we wanted to let the people know all about you and your work. So I'm going to dig into this bio, and it's pretty hefty because your girl said a lot, okay? Charlene Polite-Corley is Vice President of Diverse Insights and Partnerships in Nielsen, and she's passionate about representation in media. As part of the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion team, Charlene uses her creativity to tell stories that matter with Nielsen data. Charlene's research and thought leadership is used to amplify the power and influence of Black audiences, showcase media trends among historically excluded communities, and support both the moral and business case that representation matters. In her current role, Charlene also collaborates with advocacy organizations to provide insights on diverse communities and consults brands on more inclusive content. In her current role, Charlene also collaborates with advocacy organizations to provide insights on diverse communities and consults brands on more inclusive content practices based on her research. She joined Nielsen in 2009 after graduating from FAMU, Florida A&M University, with her BS and MBA. Go Rattlers!
Right.
That's right.
Outside of Nielsen, Charlene is a founding member of the Washington, D.C. chapter of Chief, the private network for women leaders, an artist of multiple mediums, a jury collector, mentor, wife, and mom of two. Charlene.
Charlene.
I apologize because you did ask for a brief bio, so I'm going to work on this.
No. That was
no.
brief. It was brief and it was hefty and it was exactly what we needed to know. First of all, FAMU already says so much to me. And I'm sure to people who know people from FAMU, FAMU has a great reputation of, delivering some wonderful, well-equipped people into the world, okay?
Ooh, yeah. So I like to tell people, yes, and my husband is a rattler. We met at FAMU. FAMU kind of chose me. I chose FAMU because that is like the beginning of my deprogramming. So I needed to, I grew up in North Florida in a one-light town. You know, the whole lonely only in a majority white environment. So FAMU definitely was my opportunity to unlearn a lot of things and learn some new things. So very grateful.
Wow. I love that. I want to ask what city, but I don't think I would know it anyway.
You would not know it, but it is nestled along the St. Johns River is Putnam County, Florida. And I grew up in Hollister, and you may have driven through there on the way to the beach or on the way to University of Florida. But other than that.
Wow. What a journey. But I'm so glad that you recognize that there are things that you needed to unlearn and that FAMU was able to provide the framework for that new learning.
Constantly. Yes. And it's ongoing. I mean, there's definitely things about a rural Southern upbringing that I look back on and I really do cherish, especially now as a mom of two. It's funny because I'm in Maryland now, right outside of DC. And so being in a place where you have all four seasons, it's funny thinking back to like how much my parents relied on go outside.
Yeah.
Go outside. Like all summer, you outside.
Yeah.
So allergies and asthma, be doggone. You are. So without that option for like 8 months out the year, what are we doing? And that has really sort of the creativity from a very different angle has emerged as a mom with my son in particular. So, I mean, what you gonna do? It's snow outside. What y'all about to do all day, all weekend?
Yeah.
All Christmas break, all pandemic. What y'all doing? So,
it sounds like you were going through it. I'm not even
It's all relative. However,
yes.
Your girl was stressed.
Yes, understood. And of course, you're a mom of two now. and you are back to work, right?
Yes. So I had my son Xander in 2018. We just had Zuri in November, and she's just such a joy. Like, I was terrified actually of having a girl. Not that raising a Black son in America is a cakewalk, but like I thought about the weight of like the things that I'm going to have to teach you. You know, the what you are going to carry and what they are going to try to crush in you, and what I don't want to teach you. Like, there's just so much that when I was confronted with, and plus also a little bit of karma, because, you know, I wasn't a bad kid, but I knew everything. So like being confronted with like my own self, it just was a really heavy thing, and everybody wanted a girl. I was like, y'all, look, I don't know. It's a lot. It was very heavy to just think of, you know, I want her to keep her spark and her joy and her innocence and all these things. And as a Black woman walking this path, it is very, very tough. And so there's a lot that I need to teach her. But I'm just enjoying getting to know her little cute personality. And she's a doll.
I think that is so beautiful and sweet. And I think both of us can share that sentiment of like being in this body, you know, from the physical aspects of it, and then just walking around the world as a woman, and then as a Black woman on top of that. It's just challenging.
It's challenging. And because I'm still figuring it out. Like with my son, who is also like a challenge, like he's constant ball of energy, wants to know why with everything. But I'm also like, you're a little boy, we can default to dad on some of these things. Like, so thank God.
Take off some of the stress, right?
They can, that's that's daddy's department. So dad's department come get your son. But with her, I'm just like you said, from the physical to the emotional, social, like girl, I really have my work cut out for me. And as much as I enjoy you know, having a day job, like the real work of my life will be prepping and preparing and raising these kids, you know, protecting them and hoping that, you know, it all kind of comes together, and like just watching the tiny humans come into, you know, healthy, effective, productive, joyful human.
Yes. Oh, I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's now like, you know, I'm still training. So I've been back to work now about a month, and you know, your priorities are just different. In my prior role, because I've been at Nielsen a long time, unlike most millennials, I have stayed. I've just had different jobs. And in my last job with Nielsen, I was working directly with clients, and being a mom just changed my whole perspective. Where like my client being upset with me, stuff being late, them acting a fool in a meeting used to like ruin my day. And it still was tough. And I'm like, when you look at a toddler in the face at 3 a.m. with no sleep, and try to change a dirty diaper and try to wrestle them back into a crib, like, and nothing can shake me. So it just put a lot of things in perspective for me. So I'm so grateful for my son, who like just helped me see the world completely differently. He changed my whole life. Like, not that I'm like, oh my God, I'm, you know, I just walked so naturally into motherhood. No, but he did humble me completely. And just, you know, allowed me to just see things in a completely different way, like what's important and what's not. And I would just be in the meeting, like, it also taught me my toddler voice of like, are you done? You let me know. You let me know when you're finished, and we can talk about a solution. Right, so that voice came out a lot at work after I had my kids. So whereas before it was just like, oh my God, you know, if their client's upset, what are we gonna do, girl? Get somebody else to do it. I don't know what to do.
Problem solving. We always,
I don't know, but they can't close in an hour, so y'all got to wrap it up. So I don't know.
The motherhood has equipped you.
Girl, it's the motherhood. Like, no, not shook. Not shook. I don't.
Not shook.
That's a grown person throwing a tantrum.
Right.
I don't.
Come on now.
Smell it.
I love that you said that, because I think sometimes we think of them as two separate entities, right? And especially with you having to you're working, you're a VP, obviously, but you're also a mom. The fact that you can make these parallels and have motherhood actually not just change you from woman to mom, but you as an actual worker, like it's positively affecting the way that you work and how 100%. You problem solve.
Oh, 100%. Being a mom has made me a better employee. Now, do I work differently? Do I need different accommodations and more grace more frequently? Absolutely. But seeing a solution, be calm in the storm, finding an encouraging word like team play. Absolutely, being a mom has made me a better employee. So not that I wasn't a good one before, but it like leveled up in a way I could have never imagined. Like, no shade to, the non-parent caregivers out there, but it just, you have to give of yourself in such a different way. And you have to see things from a very different angle every single day. So especially in diversity work that we do, where a lot of my job is like Nielsen measures all this stuff related to media and audiences, right? And so my job is to take that and say, who have we left out? Who's never been at the forefront, or what storyline has not been presented, centered enough, and tell that story. And so that's how I get to bring my creativity to work every day. But it also, the work of diversity is like, you got to stand in somebody else's shoes. You have to get down to somebody else's perspective and see it from their angle. And I feel like as parents, you're doing that all the time. Like, why are you hiding? Oh, it's a rock in your shoe. Like, you got to get down on their level sometime. And, baby proof in the house. They tell you to like squat down and look from the baby's level. Like, what's going to dump into the, so it's perspective. You know what I'm saying? So, and just that transition from a person who, before I became a parent, even being married, like, he's a fully grown human. He doesn't need me to literally survive. So like my life and my work is very much just about me. And I could not fathom and understand, like, the parents that I worked with previously were like, why the baby's always sick? What is wrong with your daycare? Like, you guys come every week. What is going on?
Right. Those people are nasty. They're not cleaning up over there.
What kind of nasty daycare do you have your kids at, girl? Like, no concept. Like, no teaching, none whatsoever. And again, these are very, well compensated, well-to-do people. It's not like they just get your kids off somewhere. Like, no, hand, foot, mouth disease is just a thing.
Yeah.
And you don't understand it. Yeah. And you don't understand it as much as when you are a parent. Like, people can explain it to you because it's been explained to me, but it's a whole different level. Like, it's like you're tapping into a whole new superpower, right? So
and so, like, again, like, I look back and I say, like, a lot of this is your karma, girl, because you did not understand when you was working with these moms and just being like, oh, she's, she late again, girl. She got to leave early again. So as a young 20-something who just was clueless and it was all about me,
right?
Now I'm like, oh,
yeah, it makes you.
I see the load you were carrying. I see. I can't, like, how did you do that? Like, how did you even, manage a team of 5 people and raise 2 toddlers? Like, girl, you did that.
Yes, you did that.
So, like, so much more made sense once I was in it, once I could physically be in that perspective. So
I am so glad that you were saying that, because I think a lot of moms struggle with that. And to hear that you as a woman, girl, had that perspective. I know that men are having that perspective.
Oh yeah,
white men, black men. Why can't you? They can't figure out why it's such a big deal. But to hear you say that, I don't know, something about it just makes me feel really, like, it makes me feel sad. If I'm honest, it makes me feel sad.
Oh yeah.
But it's the honesty that you're showing is like empowering me also. Like, we do need people to advocate for moms who are in the workplace, for parents in the workplace.
For parents,
absolutely, absolutely. And I share that because, I didn't think, I never thought twice about, like, that judgment, really, which what it was.
Right.
The part of what I hope has burned that all to the ground was the pandemic. I do think the pandemic has some positive effects that, like, particularly in our work culture, like, me kind of stepping in. I remember there was this one project we were working on, and a colleague of mine who's like one of my work mom friends and like mentors, I really look up to her because she's killing it, right? But she had maybe not quite 1-year-old in 2021. And so she's bouncing a baby, giving the sales pitch to the client. And like, I'm like, girl, you are doing it. Like, it's hard. And I know you're stressed, but like, you're amazing. I look up to you so much. Like, I can't wait to get together and celebrate. And there was a comment made of like, oh my God, this baby's on the call again. Yep. You want to have the
baby gonna go? Where the baby gonna go?
Where the baby gonna go? And again, just that was like my redemption moment of being like, because it was a one-on-one conversation. That was my redemption moment to be like, imagine for a moment.
Yeah.
The toddler voice.
That you had this baby a year ago with the intention that there would be these things available for your family and your career to function. They no longer exist. There is no daycare to go to. There is no parent can just come over and pick the baby up. You don't know anything about this woman's circumstances. What I do know is she gave you a bomb presentation that she worked day and night with COVID to deliver on time for you, for this girl. Like, I went off.
Clap.
So I don't know if it was received, but like, you have no idea. Like, can you, and especially, thankfully now, both of us are kind of in a place in our career where it's like, my posture is kind of like, I dare somebody to say something. Please say something. Please. Because he's still working on me. I will press pause and let you know. Please say something. Say something. So we can both go to HR. Like, it's cool. Say it. But everybody's not there. You know, everybody is not there. And especially younger in my career, I would be terrified because I worked from home, like in a hybrid situation the last 10 years, ever since I moved from New York to Maryland. So it was very critical to me, like kind of managing my personal brand in a distant way. Like, I had to be put together. You couldn't see into a messy apartment. You wouldn't have people walking all around. I needed to be in place with no interruptions, just like I was in an office. And so the thought of a baby coming into the call would be like career ending at a certain point. Now it's like, look, I'm delivering and performing with lifing, okay? Because those are the options. There's no other option. And you know, I don't necessarily think that's a thing to sustain. But you know, we just kind of do what we had to do. And so now when I see that sentiment, at least I know, break it, step right in and let folks know what this life is about. Like, not everybody has a daycare right now. Not everybody has aftercare. You know, school is out at 2 and we work until 5. What you think folks is doing? So yes, you're going to see a kid every now and then, or yes, I'm going to need to take this call from the road. It is what it is. So yeah, it's been a journey.
I love that. Like, you know, you really basically said that the perspective on what is important is changing, right? Okay, because you want the job to get done, and people have different priorities. Priorities have been shifted during the pandemic, right? Because we're like, oh my gosh, I've been going so much. I've missed a lot with my family. So now we're not seeing kids passing a background as necessarily being as disruptive, right? Because if they're not talking to you or disrupting you, it's no big deal. It's just life is happening around you. And I think it's allowing people also to see that we're not linear, right? We're not just this one role in our job. We have things, everybody has something going on, whether it be a dog, a cat, a kid, a dinosaur, okay? Yeah. Whatever it is, there's something happening in the background, and that makes the person. So it definitely helps us be more understanding with one another and have empathy. And I just think, I feel like you've been listening to our podcast because we've been talking about this, and listen, you come with all the things because it's so true. We need to, being a mother has definitely empowered us, made us more empathetic, more understanding, better team player, better team manager. Even if we have to give the toddler voice, at least we're not going off and ending up at HR. You know what I'm saying? So,
but that's still an option. It's still an option if somebody
stop it.
Can't be on the wrong day. Listen. That baby, the sleep regression is real.
Okay.
So when you had your son first, right? You were at a different position, or were you the same position, the same title that you have right now?
No, I was in a very different position. I was I think I had just been promoted to director when I had him.
Okay.
So I was a director of client service. So I was managing all these different accounts, and the work that I did before. So I was, managing national television networks. So these huge iconic brands were my responsibility, and the data that we were passing through to them for them to do business, to understand how their shows are doing, where they need to look further, how audiences are shifting, engineering specs, and all this stuff. So I'm having these very detailed, very high level, important $1 million conversations. So it's a lot of stress. It's a lot of, everybody's watching. What's the number one show on TV? What's this? What are you streaming? What do you want to see? All this stuff. It's a very high intensity industry. I have a very privileged seat and perspective from the Nielsen angle, since we aren't directly involved in like, oh man, I made this show and it didn't get picked up. So I have a little bit of insulation from that, but it was a lot of high stress. I spent like probably the first 4 or 5 months of my pregnancy just like in the bed, like typing on my phone, just being sick and stressed out. And again, because I didn't, I was transitioning, right? Like I didn't know how to process my body is physically transitioning into the state of motherhood, but work is my number one priority. And I got to send that email. I got to be on the call. I got to. So I was sick, and I remember feeling like getting towards the end of the pregnancy and being like, y'all stole so much of my joy. Like this should have been a joyful, celebratory, moment for me. And, all these health issues and stuff were coming up. And I was like, I just spent so much time feeling like not joyful.
And this time around was different. This time
around was night and day.
Because, okay, good.
Here I am. I've transitioned out of that work. Good. Interesting way that I transitioned out of that work. I realized I don't want my boss's job. And we got a new director over our department. And he was like, you're so good with clients. Like, I see your future here. You've been stuck under this like horrible structure. And, you didn't quite see your career path here, but I see it. Like, you could be an SVP today, tomorrow. Like, who do you want? Which account do you want? And I was like, look at your team. There's nobody that's a parent on your team unless they're a man. Unless their child is like in college, moved out. There's nobody young, wife, mom on your team. You drive a really hard team. I know I would be successful under you. I would learn a ton from you, but I'm not done building my family. I'm not done raising my family. And you don't have anybody on your team like me.
Right. Advocating for yourself. You spoke up for yourself.
Like, thank you so much for believing for me, but that's not it.
And so, that I like,
it's not
but
it.
That's such an important conversation to have, because you had to say, yes, I can deliver this work. I can do it. Yes, I'm a boss. Yes, I can do it just like you can see it. But I also going to need some stuff on this end.
And you can't give me that. And you cannot give me that. And I appreciate you. We're both being honest right now. You can't give me that. What I need to be successful in the role. So it's going to be all on me to be successful in the role. And I'm not sacrificing what I just got at home. I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
To the best of my ability, I'm not doing it. I can see it from here that if I step into what you're telling me, that is going to be a mess at home, and I'm not doing that. So I had been
good for you
during that time. Yes, thank it. Not me. That was definitely a like God moment of like, girl.
Yes, well, thank you, Lord.
Please tell him, because girl, run the other direction. So, and I loved the work I was able to do. Like when you can see your impact, especially with smaller clients, it's really great work. But I had also been doing the sort of self-development of, okay, what do I really want to chase here? And these are the things that bring me joy when I'm on the clock. This is the work that I love doing. This is the mission that I feel like really resonates with me. And it, I shifted into DE&I because I was like, I am DE&I every time I go into these people's office, and ain't nobody who looks like me, ain't nobody from where I'm from, ain't nobody watching the stuff that I'm watching, how I'm watching it, So like I am representation in media every day I show up. And so that was sort of the angle that I got to take into our DE&I team and sort of start doing this work. The world broke in 2020, and clients started asking for like, do you have anything that can help us understand, particularly around the confrontation of racism that was happening. Like, do you have anything that can help us out? And I was going to all these teams, like asking, well, can you do this? Can you do that? And nobody wanted to touch it. And I was like, you know what? I'm a Black woman in America. I am a researcher. I'm a mother of a Black son. I'm married to a Black man. Like, I can do this. I built the whole research project and like presented it to them. So another God moment, our chief diversity officer was like, I'm building this team and your name came up as somebody that I should talk to. And I was like, and she was new to the company, but she knew me. She was like, oh, and I recognize the name. So I really want to talk to you. Wow. Here's my idea. And I was like, oh my goodness, I'm already doing the role. I just put this together for my client. Let me take you through my presentation.
Wow. Wow. Nothing goes to waste. Oh, wow.
So it just kind of clicked all together that I was able to come in. And again, it was about, we are presenting, everybody's getting the same data, right? But the stories that I get to tell are not the stories that are coming to the surface with everybody else. And that takes creativity, right? That's the different perspective. That's where the diversity comes in. So very long-winded way to say,
no, that's okay.
I kind of got into my dream job and being in that flow state, being in like such a supportive team of strong women, of moms who are like, both my manager and her manager are mothers, and who really were like, you do whatever you need to do, to be healthy and have a healthy baby. So to be 5 years older and pregnant, to be, heavier and gone through a pandemic and all these reasons why I should have been sicker this time around, I was, we were good. I still, of course, had, whatever issues, but like, it was just so much more enjoyable of an experience. Probably because I knew better this time.
Right. So you learn, and that's really,
I learned.
The first child get that a lot.
Level of support,
Right.
And it literally made a difference in my health. So I would like show up to the doctor and like, oh, I don't have to come every week for that monitoring thing. The doctor's like, no, you good, get out.
No. Good. And so you guys, before you said you were very much into your career. So you planned motherhood. Did you plan, right? Okay, you were intentional about that. And so you basically, as you said, you didn't really expect it to look like you were, when it happened, you were like, oh, I'm still going to be all in this. I'm just pregnant. It wasn't like you didn't expect the shift to happen that quickly.
So another funny story about motherhood, because again, all about my career, but I've been intentional about creating my life at home. So when I started working for Nielsen, like I said, I joined in this like accelerated management development program in New York City, moved around all these different places. But after a while, I knew New York was not for me. And my now husband was still in DC at the time, in Maryland. And so we were long distance for 4 years. And so I'm like, okay, you're my person. If we're going to do this, we should probably be in the same city limits. Like that might help.
Probably.
Now you could move to New York, but if we want to have a family, like I need your mama or my mama to be close, because I don't know nothing about birthing no babies. So I like, my first leap of faith was like, I'm moving from New York. I'm like, we have done all this great stuff to like start my career here. And at that time, you needed to be in the seat in New York City to like be considered, high potential, and work that thing out to where I'm actually not going to be there. I'm still going to be considered high potential, but I'm going to be doing it from here because, that's why I'm working, is to build my life. Right. And so that was about 10 years ago that I moved to Maryland, and we got married in 2016. We had my son in 2018. But again, like I part of me never really was sure if I would have kids. Or get married or anything. Like that was not my mission growing up, was make it out. You need to do whatever club, get whatever grade, but you're going to work your way out and go do whatever. And so I never even really considered it,
What made the shift for you?
Meeting my husband. I was like, okay, I could, he's good with kids. So we just send to daddy and he got it.
Okay, good. Oh, but that's so great.
Love. So once I met him, I was like, I could be a whole other future for myself.
I love that.
Where before it was like really just it was solitude. It was like, you're just going to make it out and you're going to do this, and because you need to be safe, you need to be, you need a different path. And so the different path included a family of 4, praise God. So that was a huge change. But like, funny story was, when we made the decision to, start trying and stuff, had full panic attack, hives, everything.
Wow. Oh my God.
Because I'm like, most things in my life up to that point, one, only impacted me. If I make a mistake, I just change these things over here. And I always had my exit strategy. I always have an exit strategy. There's always a plan B, a plan C, or whatever. Ain't no exit strategy with no kids.
Girl, no.
No.
You can't return the sender. God don't take them back like that.
I can even get rid of this husband if I wanted to. Like, we got options.
Yeah.
There are no options with kids. None.
So you had to renege control. You had to say, okay, Lord,
it's
at this
terrifying.
point,
it's terrifying. It's the most permanent decision I've ever made. It's terrifying.
Wow. Yeah.
So, full hive breakout.
It's understandable.
So this point, I did not break out into hives this time.
Yeah.
But
Yay!
I remember just being like, are you sure you want to do this? Like, are you sure? Oh my God, he was sure. He's still sure. But now we're like, okay, somebody gonna have to hit the lotto to have some more kids, because
facts. Listen, especially when you want to give them the best,
daycare, right? Like, nobody's working to have any more. It's just, or we moving back somewhere. I don't even know where.
Yeah, just with the daycare expenses alone. I mean, I'm finally out of that daycare category, but
yes, praise Lord.
Listen,
I'm still in it. I got one more year.
In it. She's still in it. But man, I thank you. Lord, I thank you that I don't have to
go on vacation, girl. Ooh.
Listen, I'm just stacking my money. The amount of money to be put into every week. And but when I look, I said, that's how much we spent this year. But I'm happy, it's the cost for peace of mind. And
it really is.
It's really sad that, and I feel sad about that, because there's people who can't afford to pay for that peace of mind. So,
100%. Because when we were shopping, trying to figure out childcare this time around, I was like, how are people doing this? Because we make good money, and we're like, wait a minute.
Counting it. Yes.
Yeah. Like, huh? So if you're just making ends meet and got to go to work,
right.
Not to mention, like, I feel like everybody we found, people weren't taking infants anymore. People weren't, giving that before, like that 6 to 6 kind of time frame. People were like 9 to 5. Girl, how am I get to you if I work 9 to 5?
Till 5. There you go.
So the whole game is just different. And I acknowledge, like, there's some stuff that's broken. There's a lot of stuff that's broken in the way that things are. But like, for that peace of mind, you're going to pay a premium. And I just hate that that's where we are right now. But like, you gotta, we had a couple incidents locally actually with daycares, and it's like, oh, my baby gonna be okay.
Listen, it can happen in a different country. If I see it on the news, I'm thinking about it and I'm asking the questions, because it is freaking me out.
Yep, for sure. Right, so it is challenging, especially, I talk with my girlfriends a lot about, none of us are really called to be stay-at-home parents and caregivers. Like, all of us feel like, I need to go and release some of these ideas and some of this creativity, and to have like that moment where I'm making an impact on a team or organization. Not that you can't have that same impact at home full time. It is not the calling for me.
Yes.
So I feel like, especially with that in the background, it's a balance of like, do you want me to be home full time and really kind of out of alignment with what brings me joy? And I love my children. They do bring me joy. If I was with them 24/7, I don't know that would be the case. I don't know that I would be okay. And so it's like, we have to invest in this care system, because, there's just, these things that I still want and need. So I'm still very much about me. So I'm still working on it, but like the easy thing would just be at home. And so I can easily see how so many women in particular have made the choice to be like, I'm tapping out. I am out of the workforce. I am staying home because the economics, the math don't math.
But it's
totally understand.
And I do think it is a calling though.
I
do think it is a calling. I mean, of course, there's economical things. There's a lot of layers into it, but some women are called to the work.
Some women are called, and like the stay at home. There's certain women that I see, like, no shit, whatever. Like, she's the curriculums that they go through, and like the things that they're able to teach. and the experiences they give their kids, I'm like, girl, you were made for this. Like they are so impressed. And I'm like, that would not.
Yes, they are. No. I know. My friend did it. And I was like, girl, they're big enough to go to school. Send them to school, girl.
Send them to school.
They created a whole curriculum. It's amazing. It really is. But I think Kellyanne and I has talked about that, and we talked about how,
and we've done it. We've both done it.
Wow. We've talked about how important it is for us to be out there doing the thing that brings us joy outside of home, because we are multi-layered, right? And we're teaching our children this, right?
Yeah.
She showed me, let me tell you, okay? I was like, my creative stuff, I was like, who gonna watch these kids? I don't really trust somebody watching my kids. When I had the one, I was like, I'm just gonna put everything else on the back burner. I wasn't trying to do none of that creative stuff, because I was just like, it's hard. I just didn't really want to do it. And then I saw her function. I always give her flowers every time. She'll be sick of the story, but I saw her doing the thing. Okay. And I was like, what am I doing? My one. And she had, I think 3 at the time. And then when she had the 4, she was still doing it. And I was like, okay, me, the 2, I can really, and I was, because a lot of things, consume us, right? And there's always an excuse not to do it, but she made it happen. And like, you're making it happen. So, I know you have advice. Like, do you have tips that you can share to people who are building their career and, trying to do this while raising children, like, because you're doing it?
Yeah. First of all, kudos to both of you for even like the doing is the hard part. Like we all have, like, I have so many ideas and desires and whatever. And then I'm like, girl, I'm tired. Let me take this nap. So the fact that you even are doing the podcast and, like the execution, there's just kudos for getting it done. And also just acknowledging like, I need more. Like, this is not the end all be all for me. And that's okay. Yeah. That's okay. Yeah. So first of all, my advice would just be like, figure out who you are as not, as a person, as a mom. Yes, that's a part of who you are. Yeah. And so that could be like the most important part of who you are, most likely. But there's probably some other stuff that you still need. You still need, time with your significant other. You still need time for yourself. And you still need to like get these, especially as a creative, get these ideas and thoughts and things out in the world. Even if it's just a journal to start with, like my personal practice, I am struggling with 100% transparent. Because right now it's like sleep over everything. But part of why I'm so grateful for the invitation for this podcast, when Kellyanne reached out and was like, it's for creative moms. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm in, like, I paint, I draw, I do all these other things that actually have been really helpful in building a relationship with my son, because he doesn't call our dining room the dining room. That's the project room. That's the art room. That's so when we get a little, we turn off the YouTube Kids. Let's just do something with our hands or whatever. Just find figure out how you are going to prioritize getting your thing out there. If it's 5 minutes of journaling, if it's just a sketch quickly on the back of a napkin, but like you can start small. It's okay to start small and figure the rest out later. So that would be one thing, is to really feed those parts of yourself that bring you joy as much as you can, even in motherhood, because everything becomes about like, you got to keep a tiny human alive. And I get that. Yeah. So as much as possible, when you can bring the kids into it, I think that is huge. That really helped me. What also really helped me is like, it's just going to be messy. Right. Every time I try to paint, my son wants to paint. He's going to put his fingers in the paint. He's going to put his clothes in. It's going to be messy. It's fine. Right. So one of our projects was we made our project aprons, and he got to decorate make everything a project.
There you go. Listen, you got this motherhood thing. That's it.
I don't. I really don't. But
it's all a teachable moment. But that's really what it is, though. Like, we don't know, but we doing it while we do. We just making it do when we go along the way. I think that's what motherhood is. Okay,
right. That is what it is. Nobody knows anything. Yeah, they're just figuring it out. And so that was like one of my best mom moments of like, okay, so him getting paint on everything bothers me. You know what? Our next project is going to be decorating our apron. So that was just like a creative mom side of just find those little pieces to hold on to, even in the midnight hour when you're up and, feeding and, all that kind of stuff, is just keep that part of yourself alive. Keep that practice If not daily, once a week, do something for you that keeps your creativity going. From the career side, I would say one thing that has really enriched my network at work is finding those wife mama friends that I can tap into who are also like going through the struggle, particularly in your organization or on your project or your field of work. It takes a little bit of vulnerability, but like when you feel seen from them, like, you know, you have a Kelly and a Danny situation.
Yes.
They're just so much richer, you know, like, because they know exactly what you mean.
Yes.
When you're like, oh, you know, that project didn't, you know, do whatever, and my kid came in, you know. So somebody who knows the walk is so helpful. Tap into those networks of support and just extend your village where you're working as much as you can. I know that's not possible for everybody. It really is a privilege that I'm lucky enough to have. And gosh, what else? I think that's enough for now, but I'm sure there's something else.
It's but you know, those two things, we've been doing these. This is our 8th episode, and it seems to be the same advice. So it got to be true. You know, different walks of life. Everybody's saying, figure out what you want to do as a person, separate from the role as a mom, and you know, because that is really what it is. Because you need to bring joy to that first in order to be able to give joy to anybody else, right? So definitely.
And let me take that a step further, because when I was early in my, not that I've been married a super long time, but early in my marriage and motherhood, and I didn't know how to verbalize that was what I needed. So for those of you in relationships and saying like, oh my gosh, I haven't been to my sketch pad in 6 months. You know, I really need you to take the lead with the kids so I can have some time with my craft. You know, I need 30 minutes. I need an hour. I just need a little bit of whatever X is, fill in the blank. Just in case somebody doesn't know how to verbalize, like, hey, I need to really get this idea down. Can you take the lead with the family for Sunday afternoon so I can go and do whatever? And it doesn't have to be a huge interval of time. Like, you know, big all afternoon asks are hard around here. So, you know, start small, whatever. But like, I didn't have the ask back then, but to be like, hey, partner, husband, whoever.
Yes.
You got to step up so I can figure this thing out. Cause I just went through like a whole building and birthing a child. And
building and birthing.
So to like,
when you think about it that way.
A little bit.
Right.
You know, thank you so much. Bye. But yeah.
Right. But when you look at it that way, I think he'll definitely feel like, you know what? Yes, she really did build a whole child. Let me just do whatever she says.
That's right.
That is a smart response.
Oh man, this was such a great conversation. I mean, honestly, I echo Danielle's sentiments of, you know, like everyone's kind of saying the same thing in different ways and different careers and different paths. We just had a new mom on, you know, it's her first child ever. And she's realizing that, you know, these very important things. And so I'm glad you guys are all, even down to the last thing that you said, which my mind is slowly slipping away.
Hashtag mom brain.
Yeah, definitely mom brain.
But yes, we have to ask questions. We have to ask out for help. Because even
asking for help.
Our last guest said the same thing, like being
that's what I was trying to get to. That's the comment.
But isn't it the truth though? Because like I think a lot of women, and I think we see this even on TV shows, we see how like we keep, and I even had somebody on social media said the other day, you know, we don't want to have to keep asking you things, right? We want them to figure it out. But there are things that we can't expect them to read our minds. And I'm a bit advocate for that because I've seen it where it's been a problem when you don't like voice what you need. And I'm big on vocalizing that. But you know, so yeah, I think I definitely support and I agree with that 110%. The problem for us, for me, I don't know about you, Kenny, but it's figuring out when I need to make the ask. Sometimes it's too late. I'm already over the edge.
Right, right. And so that's what I'm like, ideally, like what I'm trying to build now, what I see I need to do now is they call it a practice for a reason. So I need my daily practice of you know, creativity or my art time or whatever, you know, every week or on the first Saturday of the month or whatever, but like building a routine, you know, just like how we get up and brush our teeth and do the, you know, it's a part of our routine that mom has her creative time. And so just building that back in. But yeah, I love that the theme is coming together. One of my girlfriends has, you know, basically started a collective called Balanced Working Mama to like, for millennial mothers in particular, because we're such a trend break in our generation, right? Like how we are doing Black motherhood is different from like every generation previously. We have more resources, hopefully, you know, more income. We just have different and more options. And so previously where a, you know, prior generation, even our own moms may have had to shoulder everything. We don't have to do that. We are married to fully baked human beings who are just as much a parent, you know, as I am a parent, and know just as scared as I'm just scared. And so we have to speak those things too. Like there was no inherent like motherhood chip. I'm just I'm just going through the motions and keeping the kid alive. Like
there you go. The number one, and that's the most important.
So we have the same goal. Our goal is to stay out the emergency room.
Yeah.
You know, there's no extra knowledge I have that you don't have. We are in this together. Yeah. And again, like working on that verbalization and again, unlearning all of that socialization of that you are supposed to be this strong Black woman that just is a natural at such and such and such. Girl, no. Like, oh, you can alternate Tylenol and Motrin? Okay.
Yep. Yeah. Google is my best friend. Okay.
Girl. So yeah, it's common. It's a new set of like rules. And so I love that those themes are emerging in the work that you're doing. And you're bringing it out for folks to hear. So thank you for starting the conversation.
Thank you so much. I have one question that I really want to ask you in pertaining to and this is actually the last question before we get to the fun stuff.
Okay.
But you work in this space where you analyze and you're looking at the data for representation and diversity in media. And we honestly truly appreciate that work because it is critical. Has having children amplified your desire and your passion for the work that you're in?
1,000 times, yes. Absolutely. Thinking about just from a technical industry business perspective, the relationship that my kids have with media, with technology, is completely different than what I had at their age, even at this age. Like, they just are born knowing how to get to YouTube. They are born knowing how to click through a stuff. Like, it is insane. And so like with my son, if you wanted him to sit still all day in front of a phone, he could do it. The downside of that, or the part of that, the part of it that resonates with me in the work that I do is like, what is he receiving?
Watching, right?
So how is he seeing kids that look like him positioned? Is a Black kid always the villain? Are you being advertised, fast food and like things that aren't healthy? Are the messages and the themes like safe for you? All of these things because we spend so much time with screens and content, like what are you receiving? Because that is, informing you more than probably what mommy and daddy are preaching. It's that cartoon or the, YouTube influencer kid that you are really, honed in on. And so I think about that a lot of like, what are the messages that he's getting? One of the ways that it showed up, I think the number one way that it showed up, I had just gotten into this role in October of 2020. January 6th happens. And I was like, I want to know. I don't know if you remember back to that day, but like everybody kind of watching the TV, like, now, if this had been us. And so I went to the data and was like, that was a moment in my household and probably a couple of others where we said, y'all come here and look at this. Don't you think that you can run up on here and act like this and they just gonna let you do it for 4 or 5 hours?
That ain't gonna happen. No.
And sure enough, when I ran the report, child, Black kids were watching more news that day than any other kids in America. And that was my CEO retweeted that data point.
Wow.
And was like, I'm so glad you're here to tell, because that was the first time where, like, as a mother, especially of a Black child, I knew we were all like being like, this is one of the starkest differences. Like this what we're talking about, this right here, that you can peacefully execute your right to protest over the summer and be attacked for it. And you can be acting a plumb fool, breaking the law.
Yep.
And shaking hands and taking selfies. Right. And so, and it showed up in the data. Of course, mom brain, I can't remember the data point now, but if you go to our reports on Nielsen.com, Nielsen.com/African Americans, all our research is there. But yeah, that was, I think, one of the biggest times where, like, being a mom, being a Black woman, being in DEI media all collided. And there was a story that nobody was going to tell. Wow. But I got to tell it.
Wow.
So that'll be in my little portfolio.
Thank you for that. Thank you for your work. I mean, seriously. Thank you for your work. Those numbers are important. And I think, more recently, I think because of social media, because of YouTube, we're getting to see how intentional companies are. I think it's always been their intentional. It's always been their intention to influence us, but I don't think we were as aware
of the influence.
Now we know a lot more of the influence.
Exactly. And that too is like one of the goals with the research I'm doing, is to also let these brands and content creators know you are dealing with the most savvy audience member consumer that you ever had. Like, folks are not about this. You can't talk out both sides of your face. You're telling me that you care in Black History Month, and then you're supporting policies and politicians that don't think I should exist, or that my history should not be taught. Like, people are closing that gap very quickly and frequently. And so people want to not just hear from you, but also, like, what have you done for me lately? You want my...
Come on, Janet.
You want my 1 in trillion in buying power, but you don't think I'm worthy of, like, voting rights. Like, come on. The math don't math.
No, not mathing.
So yeah, part of me is like, yes, I want to inform my industry so that they can do better, but I also hope that, folks on the ground in the audience are smarter and more discerning about the power that they hold, and also to, like, shine a light on the creators who have an opportunity to change it. Again, like, oh, why is it so-and-so nominated? Well, let's go back to what so-and-so was greenlit. I can't get nominated if you don't even pick my project up. I can't tell the joke that really is going to hit if I'm not in the writer's room. Like, so it's all the systems, all the things, trying to do a lot of work for a lot of different outcomes. But yeah, it is definitely been a joy and a privilege to be in this seat.
Yeah, it's important work. It's important work, and thank you. I definitely feel a way still about the Woman King not being nominated. But I'm glad it made it to Netflix so that everyone can get an opportunity to experience the amazingness that is that film. So again, thank you for the work that you do, for you, your team. It's critical. It's critical. And I definitely want to look at those statistics.
I know. I was just saying, I'm about to go right now.
I just found it. So the one that I was thinking of, what did I do with it? So on January 6th, or the week of January 6th, 4 out of the 10 of top news programs viewed by Black children were news programs, compared to 1 out of 10 for just kids in America. So kids were Black children were watching 4 times the amount of news when this happened.
Yeah.
And the parents were sitting them down
right there, like,
don't you think you can get away with this? No. And the other ones probably was looking at it thinking, oh, that's just them being them, which probably was an awakening for that idea. And the first, they're just so used to the foolishness. I wonder how many was really truly shocked. But anyway, I digress.
Yeah.
That's
a different podcast.
Yeah, that's a different podcast for sure.
That's our part 2, girl.
Let's get into the fun stuff.
Yes, the fun stuff. We want to know, who is your favorite at TV or movie mom?
Okay, so I really did have to think about this one because I'm a sci-fi fantasy like nerd.
Ooh,
And the
okay.
trope, a lot of those heroes and stuff like don't have their parents. So it's like
right.
I watch a lot of stuff where there's like not a mom, but I thought back to A Different World and Patti LaBelle's character. I loved her and her little chipmunk.
And her prune cobbler.
And yes, and she would just burst it on the scene and be a little busybody. And I was like, this is my mama.
Oh, I love that.
Who like drove to my brother's college every weekend and did his laundry for first semester. Like that's her.
Oh my goodness.
I love that character. I love that show. So yeah.
We're here for that. I love that. Yeah, she was definitely a mom, like a great mom character.
And I love the dynamic with her and Diane Carroll character.
Yes.
Total opposites. So I love that whole they did great there.
Yeah, Patti LaBelle killed that character. I didn't really know she could act like that until I saw that role. I was like, okay, absolutely.
And I can't think of what else she's acted in, but
that's it. That's all I got.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, and then the next question. What is your favorite thing about being a mom? And then your least favorite? Unless you want to do least first and we end on a positive note. It's up to you.
Yes. Okay, I will do least first because that one is much easier and it's the lack of sleep. I hate how tired I am all the time.
Yes.
Oh, I hate how tired I am all the time. But my favorite thing about being a mom is just like they make me a better person. Like truly, their little smile, they're beautiful. I'm totally biased, but like, I'm like, I look at them sometimes, I'm like, I made that. Like, what? And so just seeing the joy in their face, like just something as simple as like blowing bubbles. Also, mom cheat code, especially in the house. If you can't put them outside, blow some bubbles.
Bubbles,
you know every time. It is. But they love it. And just seeing them just laugh, like lighthearted, the world is your oyster, like just that innocence of childhood. And so I think it has really healed me in a lot of ways, becoming a mom. And it just brings joy. There's just so much unexpected joy in it. And so even when it's hard, I try to focus on, that smile, that little hug, how they smell. My 5-year-old's kind of losing that. But yeah, I think
wait till puberty comes.
Yeah,
let's
girl,
go.
I'm not ready. Yeah, I would say the unexpected joy is really become my favorite part. And if I could just get a little bit more consistent sleep, Lord, if they would just sleep through the night.
It'll get better. I'm not gonna say it's gonna be perfect because I still listen. I have an 8 and a 4-year-old, and sometimes I don't even feel. Now I think I've just gotten numb to it. Like the 4-year-old comes into bed, I don't feel it. But when they both come in, because one takes their foot and it's in me, that's what disrupts. I can't just. And they don't understand that the touching over. But for the most part, like we've kind of gotten to like a okay routine, but doesn't last forever. They were sleeping in their beds. I'm just gonna be honest. You're gonna get longer stretches. Let me tell you that part. You're gonna get longer stretches of sleep. Right? And it's seasonal. Okay.
Right. And I'm just rolling with it. I'm rolling with it.
Oh no, like, Kelly, and your kids probably sleep through the night still now, but I don't know. You give us hope, please. Seth, the young one.
Sleepwalker.
Oh goodness. Lord. You're not ready. So yeah, the sleep issues in general are not my favorite part. But
it's understandably so.
Yes. So, but there is joy. There's joy on the other side of it.
Yes, there is. And there's joy even in the midst, there's sometimes when my youngest is 5, and sometimes he'll come in and sometimes I'll know, and other times I won't know until the morning. I'm like, why is it this? Why can't I turn around? It's like there's a human back there.
There's a human,
but never lonely.
Never lonely, and that's a blessing.
Yes, there you go. Yes, I am told that it is. Yes, I am.
It's a blessing for sure. It is.
Good. Oh,
yeah. It is. But okay, is that all? Do we know we got some more?
Yes. No, that's it. We just want to say thank you. We say thank you for just this time with us. I know you might have felt like you said a lot, but you said so much, and it was what we needed to hear. I know this was the perfect end to like our season, and you just really brought everything together with just affirming what has been told, and like joining our motherhood community. Okay.
Yes.
We're going to be, you're still in there. You're a part of us now. You can never leave. Okay.
Yes. You can't get rid of me.
Wait a minute.
As you can see, once you get me talking, it's hard to shut me up. So thank you so much for the invitation again.
No problem.
The warm welcome and the opportunity to just, again, get these thoughts out there. I feel like that is so needed. So I really appreciate the work that y'all are doing. And thank you again for having me.
No problem. One last,
go ahead. You got it, Kelly.
One last thing. So if you could drop a one-liner to encourage a mom, just a one-liner, at this season, maybe she's an executive and maybe she's building her career and she finds out she's pregnant and she's like, oh my God, I don't think I can do this. Just a one-liner encouragement for that mom that might be listening.
Ooh, I would say stop everything, close your eyes, take the deepest, slowest breath that you can. Plant your feet on the ground, inhale and breathe out. Remember that now your charge is different. You are building and creating life, and not just life, but a legacy. And that will be your focus from now on. Don't worry about trying to hold on to how things are now. They will never be the same. So breathe in, take a long, deep breath out, assemble your team of Avengers that you will need to get through it. It's going to be okay, but it's going to be very different than what it is previously. That's okay. You're going to be a whole new person and enjoy the ride.
Yes. So let us know how people can connect with you to find out more about the work that you're doing to support, empower, and encourage creative moms.
Sure. You can go to my website at charlenepolite-corley.com. You can follow me on Instagram at Rising Char. And you can find a lot of the work and the research that I've been up to at Nielsen.com/African Americans.
Thank you. Yes. And this is the work that you're doing. I will tell you, like, when we see a Black woman in these spaces doing these things, and, we touch a little bit on the creative work that you do to build yourself up, to remind yourself that you're more than just a mom. But when we see Black women who are mothers in these spaces, it truly is an encouragement to all of us.
For sure.
That it's possible, especially when on those days where we're like, I don't think I got it.
Yep.
It's a reminder that we can.
For everybody. That's it. It's not just about you and this podcast. Like, you're encouraging someone. So I appreciate the comment for sure, because I don't take it lightly. So that's why I got to keep the lipstick on the desk. Because you got to show up.
I'm about to go order mine. Where's my phone? I'm going to order mine.
Me too.
That's it.
We're going to have it. We're going to be ready.
Thank you so much. We enjoyed the conversation. We definitely want to stay in touch and figure out how we can support you and your future work, and also use any statistics you want to share.
For sure. If I come across anything that I'm working on that I think like, oh, this is interesting that popped up, I will definitely be sending that your way. And if you need me for anything, please feel free to reach out.
All right, will do. Awesome. Thank you, Charlene. Have a fantastic day.
You too, ladies. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening in. Catch us weekly on Spotify and Amazon Music. Leave a review and follow us on Instagram and Facebook to get more information and inspiration on motherhood and making things.
Have a question or a comment? Send us an email at the ProCreatives podcast@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.